interesting program. I had my own business. I grew my own business from scratch. I was originally a theater major, as I mentioned. So like all theater majors, I had a very unhappy mother, and I had to get a real job. So I got into the real estate finance business and built an Inc. 500 company, multi-million-dollar, dozens of employees, and had absolutely no idea what I was doing. But I did get onto the Inc. 500 list of privately held, fastest-growing privately held companies in America, and then I had no idea where to go from there. But in Inc. magazine, I saw this ad with Thomas Edison and with Henry Ford, and it said, "Come be a giant. Come learn from giants." And so I applied. In 1998, I applied and I wrote the best essay that I could, bragging about myself, and I was promptly turned down. So in 1999, when I actually got on the Inc. 500 list, I wrote it again, and somehow, as an entrepreneur, managed to find a little bit of humility, and I was accepted. 60 students out of 850 with MIT, phenomenal university, Inc. magazine, and YEO, which had been around 10 years. And I got to this program, I'm driving up this road, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know any other young entrepreneurs at the time. And I'm going up this road in this car and feeling, okay, this is gonna be interesting, to this place called the Endicott House. And there's this blonde man just standing kind of out in front and just smiling, welcome, welcome. I had no idea who this man was. Turns out it was Vern Harnish. And he did this for decades. Like, he would just sit there and welcome these people, and we would all we'd talk afterwards, like, who is this man? And we would come in, and the first thing is we sit down in a classroom, nice, beautiful university classroom. Some of the people, this is late 90s, some people who, the younger ones, I was 33 at the time, they'd already been learning how to take notes on laptops. Yeah, that wasn't me. I was still working with a notepad and a pen, and let me put this down, we don't need it yet. And I'm sitting there just writing notes. So we had 4 days of 3 years, 3 years of 4 days. The first day, the first speaker comes in, and I'm ready, right? Because my team, they love me, but I'm doing lots of wrong at home, and we're trying to figure out how to go to the next level. In comes the first speaker. It's not Vern, by the way. He speaks last on that day. And I start taking notes. And I'm taking notes, and like, this is great. Just detail after detail after detail, and I'm excited. And my paper is flipping fabulously. I'm just like going through, and I fill out an entire notepad, and that was only the first hour. And then I grab another notepad and keep going, and we finish up with an hour and a half at the first speaker, and I'm like, this is amazing. And then in comes speaker number 2. And I start filling out again and filling out again. By the time I got to speaker number 3, I was full. Like, all of a sudden, I'm just like, I don't know how I'm gonna absorb any more of this. Speaker number 4 comes in, and now I'm just starting to feel a little nauseous, right? Because everything that's coming out of the mouths of these people is just gold, and it's all the stupid things that I've been doing, right? All the things I didn't know, all the mistakes that I have been making. And my stomach is starting to flip-flop, and my eyes are rolling back in the back of my head, and I'm just like, I absolutely don't know if I can do this, and at the same time, I can't possibly leave. Like, I can't turn away from the train wreck that is my company. And that was day fun. The volume of information that is required upon us as entrepreneurs, it actually applies, regardless of whether your company is 9 people or 900, it's the same. All of that stuff is the stuff that we have to do. It's just when we're small, we have a tendency to just kind of shortcut it or pick the things that we want to choose that we can work on. But all of the things to be successful all have to be done and accounted for in some manner. Now, you're going to have 2 days of Vern Harnish. And I will tell you, you're going to feel a little full. There's going to be lots of stuff. And you're going to sit there and you're going to go, how am I going to process this? How am I going to take this? And you might have a little stomach flip-flops and little eyes rolling in the back of your head. Here's the thing that I wish I had understood at that time, that I understand now. So I'm going to ask you to write two numbers. First number is 168. Write that number down. 168. The second number is 26,300. Now, who in the room, does anybody in the room know what 168 represents? Okay, so let me see if I can give you a little perspective. Raise your hand in this room if you think that you can make more money. You can create more cash. Raise your hand. I would hope every one of you, you're entrepreneurs. Isn't that why you're here? Okay, raise your hand if you think you can create more time. Okay, Vern, we got a couple people who are also think that they're magicians as well. You can't. 168 represents the number of hours that you have in a week. That's it. If you sleep 8 hours a day, okay, you know what? I like to do this thing. Close your eyes, because we're only honest if we close our eyes. So close your eyes. How many in here sleep 8 hours a night? 7? 6? You haven't slept in days? A few here. All right, 168. So if you're sleeping 8 times 7 is 56. I think so in public schools in the U.S., so I'm not sure if my math is right. But 56, take that out, right? That doesn't leave you with a whole lot of hours by the time you have to do self-care and be with your families if you have families, and get a little time to Netflix and chill. And by the time you're done, do they get? I heard they don't get Amazon here. Do they get Netflix here? Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, well, that's more important. So the point is that that's all the time you have. And here's how you guys as entrepreneurs are spending most of that time: fighting fires. You're spending that time, you're doing, this is what I call hourly time. You're sitting there going, I only got so many hours today, I got stuff I got to do, how am I going to spend, oh no, this has come up, we've got to go and everybody put the hours. That's the hourly time that we put to all of that stuff, right? And that's why we don't actually get to put in process and systems in place, and we don't get to adding things along the way, because we're so busy doing hourly time. What does 26,300 represent? Anybody know? That is the number of hours in 3 years. 3 years, 36 months. Now, there's not a lot I can do in 168 hours, but I can do almost anything in 26,300 hours. I can look at that over time and I can go, hey, you know what? I'm going to apply an hour a week, and we'll do that as an hour a week. Or I'm going to have my team apply, everybody in the company, an hour a week. Think of that, the amount of time that happens. And hey, okay, so they only have 167. We can manage that, but now we can get big stuff done. Now you're going to hear a lot about strategy over the next day and a half. And we all kind of sit there, we don't really know what it is. It's kind of like pornography. I can't describe it, but I know it when I see it. The fact is that when you're talking about strategy, it's that 26,300. Tactics are that 168. So this is the thing I want you to think about as you listen to Vern over the next day and a half, and Andreas. Hey, what are they talking about that fits into the hourly, the tactical box? And what is it that actually fits into the strategy, the calendar box, that we have to dedicate time to over a period of time so that we can actually get this done? Now, I'm going to give you two very specific examples of this today. In fact, right now, everybody has a blue card. There's a blue card in front of you. There are pens, markers. There's red and blue markers on the table. All right. Why did I give you a blue card? Well, here you go. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I want you to visualize. We're going to do a visualization. When you hear something that I described that sounds like something that goes on in your office, I want you to raise your hand, okay? And here we go. You're sitting in a meeting, and you're thinking to yourself, I have better things to do. You're sitting in the meeting, and the meeting is going long, and the same people are talking. You're sitting in the meeting, and somebody has made a presentation, and they have said, and they've gone around and they've said, hey, Joe, what do you think? And Joe says, well, I think it's, this and this and this. And then they go to Mary next to him. They say, Mary, what do you think? Well, I agree with Joe. And then they get to Steve next to Mary, and Mary says, well, I agree with Steve. And pretty much, we've spent an hour and a half with everybody just saying that they've agreed with anybody. Anybody have this happen? Raise your hand. Okay, well, here's the correlating emotion about that. Raise your hand if you love going to meetings in your company. Oh, yeah, nobody. What a shocker, right? I'm going to fix that. Would you like me to fix that? Would you like me to give you a tactical tool that will shorten that scenario from an hour and a half to less than 15 minutes? Raise your hand if you would like that. Okay.
Well, it's good because that's what I'm going to give you.
All right, so this card, it's 2 simple words. Here's the tool that's going to solve that problem. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write these 2 simple words on the card. It's I agree. I agree. Now, some of you will grab the blue pens, and that's great. The blue does work on the blue. Some of you will grab the red pens, and for those of you who are in financial trouble, it's appropriate because you're already in the red. Somehow we should have given you green pens because we all want to be in, we all want to be in the black, right? So write that card. I agree. Are there any lefties in the group? Left-handed people. Raise your hand if you're left-handed. I like that she did that with her left hand. Okay, you're going to do the opposite hand of what I described to everybody else. Okay? So, everybody got their I agree cards? I don't see a single one. Show me. Oh, fantastic. What a visual. Okay, so here's how this works. First of all, you have to train yourself. What I'm going to teach you will save you tactical time, but only if you apply calendar time, which means that you have to practice what I'm going to show you. Now, the good news is you got 2 days in which to practice it. Just to get it done. It's not going to cost you any time. It's not going to distract your focus. In fact, it's going to do the exact opposite, and I'll explain why. So, for all of you, except the lady who is a left-hander over there, I want you to hold the card in your left hand. I want you to hold the card in your left hand for the next 2 days. No, really. Really. Now, the reason it's in your left hand is because, why? So you can write with your right hand. Yeah, I know some of you are going to take notes on your phone. You're going to have to put the phone down and pick it up all the time. But those of you who are actually writing down, which, by the way, if you write down, you're going to retain better anyway. So you should do that. But you're going to do that because every time anybody on the stage or anybody at your table says anything that you agree with, guess what you're going to do? Show me. That's right. Now here's how that works in the meeting. Super cool. So you go into the meeting, June does a presentation, and everybody's got these cards, and they've all been trained, and everybody knows what to do with them, and they're all there. So June does her presentation, and if you're the facilitator, you're going to say, okay, everybody, take another index card. This is the greatest high-tech tool in the world, by the way. You're going to say, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes on your own. And I want you to write 2 things that you liked about June's presentation, and I want you to write 2 things that you didn't like about June's presentation. 2 things that could be better. And you're going to tell them, do it in 1 sentence each. Right? So all the people like me who will talk for hours and steal meetings, they get relegated to actually using their brain to edit, and they create it. So now you have your group of 8 people, and everybody's got 2 things they like and 2 things they don't. Really simple. And you only so far spent the time of the presentation in the 3 minutes. So now you go around the room and you say, okay, Steve, read your card. Now I can tell you if there's 4 sentences on this card, it takes less than a minute to read that. More if everybody discusses, but so Steve reads his card, the 2 things he likes and the 2 things he doesn't. While he reads those sentences, everybody else who agrees with anything that Steve says or has something like that on their card, guess what they do? Show me. Right. They lift their I agree card. So now you go on to Laura, who's sitting next to Steve, and instead of Steve, Laura's saying, I agree with Steve, because guess what? She already did that a second ago, and you had, in a moment, a look at the table to know how many people are on board with which things. We said, hey, Laura, read what you have that Steve doesn't have, and she reads what that is. I assure you, by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th person, pretty much everything has already been said, and that person will just say, well, they already said it, I don't need to. And then you can just simply say to everybody else, is there anything that nobody else said? Less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes for the whole thing, less than 15 minutes for this one. Do you think this would be useful to shorten your meetings? Then why aren't you using your I agree card? Oh, see, this is going to get hard, right? This is going to get hard, and by the way, I'm on tomorrow, and I'll ask you how you're doing. I'll actually watch you and see how you're doing, and ask you, this is the fun part, I will ask you, why is it that you're not using your I agree cards? You go, but that's because you need to use that calendar time in order to win that tactical time. In order to win that, you need to use, calendar, hour. So, that's the tactical version. And I hope that you'll try that out continuously throughout the meeting, especially in your group discussion. That's the great part, that you'll have various parts where you can discuss amongst yourselves, and watch how powerful it is in those group discussions that Fern's going to give you just a few minutes to work on. Okay? I promised you I would also give you something that would help you with calendar time. So, well, that wasn't the right one. That's it. There we go. The other thing that I realized when I was at Birthing the Giants and I was learning all this stuff is that I was there alone. Now, some of you have management team. Raise your hand if you're here as part of a team, more than just the entrepreneur. Few. So that means that a lot of you that are entrepreneurs are going to go back to your team, and your team's going to go, what the heck was she smoking? Like, all this stuff, like this doesn't happen already. Oh God, what's the next one he's brought in? Right? But you're gonna go back, you're gonna bring this material, and even if you spend the money on coaching your C-suite, which is what a lot of people will do, you have lots of other employees, some of you hundreds of employees. And the question is, how are they going to move forward in this material? Part of it happens, we see it all the time, right? The money gets spent at the executive level, and it should. And they do their quarterlies, and they do their coaching, and then we get people come all the time, they say, our frontline employees, they don't actually know how to engage with this. They don't actually understand how to make our core values come to life and what our objectives are. And we're doing the communication, and we posted them on all the walls. We've made them pillows and cups and even spray painted it on the cat. But somehow they're still not getting it. And this is because we haven't really invested in the training and the motivation of the employees in the entire company. Now, I do not fault the entrepreneurs for this. I will take some of that on us. We have been teaching you for decades, hey, start with the leadership, start with the leadership. Now, the challenge with that is that we're so busy working with the leadership, we forget, especially when we're growing, that we need to train more leaders to come up the ladder. Right? We just think that people will naturally do this, and that's because we suffer from the entrepreneurial dilemma. Here's the entrepreneurial dilemma. We see the potential in everything and everybody. We see it as if it's ourselves, and then we spend a great deal of time being frustrated that those people can't be us. Anybody ever have that happen? There's some I agree cards that are popping up right now, and then some other people that are going, Ooh. Yeah, what happens, we think that these employees are going to think like us as entrepreneurs, and they're just, or even the managers sit there at the mid-level and they go, well, you should figure it out because that's how I did, and they don't. And so that's part of the reason that we wrote this book, 12 Habits of Valuable Employees. I don't know if you can see it from there. I like this because it makes me look thinner. Right? So it says, your roadmap to an amazing career. So this book isn't written for leadership. It's written for the people who want to be leaders. And so we designed the book so that they can learn how to move from adequate to amazing, how to move to wow, of their own accord. Now, it's not 100% their responsibility, it's also yours. So we created something even more. Here's what you're dealing with. In your company, when you grow, you're going to need 3 levels of leadership. At the base level is just team leads. And by the way, so you're going to hear a lot about people, strategy, execution, and cash. That's what the PSEC stands for. So in a team, right, team of 7, they've got a job, they got to get it done. In people, they just have to have good communication and they have to understand. It's not very complex. They just kind of got to get along and be able to tell each other what's going on. They're working on efficiency because that's what you want out of your team, right? Get it done fast, get it done well. Accountability, hey, whatever we give you, get it done. And then the business case constraints. Okay, yes, we need you to get it done, but you're not allowed to do it outside of what actually makes the business profitable. And this is how we function on teams. And at the base level, that's pretty much the whole level of complexity they need to know. Now you start getting into branches or different locations or different divisions and different departments. That leader has to expand a little bit. Now they have to worry about career trajectories because they actually will have people working for them that are going to be there a long time, and they're their immediate supervisor. It matters whether those people stay and whether those people grow. Interrelational creativity. How does marketing work with sales? How does sales work with operations? How do these guys work together? And you want your department heads to be able to understand that, because otherwise they're coming to you all the time going, but boss, I don't really know how it works together. Can we do something about that? And then you've got those ideas on your back. Systems and processes, right? You start growing and you got people, you got to give them the processes so that it's less people doing more stuff. Fewer people, probably say that. And then budgetary management. Some of you already give P&Ls to your mid-level managers. We would call you more successful. And then some of you are still holding all that financing in the top of your head. Now, most of you do this pretty well. And then you get to the point where you want people in the C-suite. And you can't understand why it was that when you picked that person out that got stuff done in a very tactical way, doesn't have the complexity level of understanding the C-suite. Here's what a C-suite actually should be looking at complexity-wise. For people, it's a societal perspective. Raise your hand if you have a company over 500. Couple, 400, 300, 200. Yeah, so these companies, these are like small towns. And they have all the dynamic, right, of what's going on in those small towns. They have the politics, they have the social relationships. And so your people at the C-suite level, they're actually responsible for how the town lives and works. And they need to think of it in that way. Future visualization. They can't just be worried about what's going on today at the C-suite level. Their job is to execute the future. So they have to have an understanding of what are the trends, where is it going. They need to see that. Ecosystem integration. They have to look at your company, which now probably has 3 times the amount of departments as you get bigger and up into those 500,000. You've got all these people working together and systems that need to go, that need to create workflows. That's a whole nother level that you don't have at a department level. And then last, value creation, because your C-suite is the one who is executing your vision on making the company valuable, that your frontline employee they're just looking at making, ends meet. So these levels of complexity are what you need. Now, you need lots of people.
you're going to see in the, are any of you currently doing scaling up? Raise your hand if you've read the book and you've seen the tool. Okay, you're going to see, if you haven't, in column 3 on the one-page strategic plan, it says, hey, where am I going to be in 3 to 5 years? If you are today at 15 leaders and you plan on growing 20% per year, you're going to need another 7 to 10. Kind of looks like this. 5 to 25, you guys, and you can count you can count the blue collar separately. You can look at this even in your admin structure, although you probably have some leadership going on in those spaces as well. But if you're only 5 to 25 employees, it's you and a few helpers, what Jim Collins would call a genius with 1,000 helpers. At 25 to 49, same thing. You're still running the show, you know everybody in the company. You start to get up to 100 and you don't know everybody's name in your company. You might not have even hired them, and by the way, they think you're a god. Vern talked about that last night in that you start getting into this 100, 150, they don't know who you are, but if you walk on the floor, they are immediately scared. At 100 employees, and that may seem top-heavy, but even if you don't have the person who is titled in that role, chief executive, chief people officer, chief revenue officer, chief operating officer, chief financial officer, guaranteed you're outsourcing that material somewhere, right? And eventually, you're going to have to fill that if you're going to need to grow good. So where are all these leaders going to come from? Because you've all done such a great job of training them so far, right? You've been trying to just sit there and go, well, I'll just pass on my great wisdom in the extra tactical hours that I have. It doesn't work that way. You can give them the book, and they'll read the book, hopefully. But that still isn't enough to actually give them the practice and the understanding. So that's what happens to these companies. They don't often have dedicated L&D programs, learning and development, that's what we're talking about, or leadership and development, we call it the same thing a lot. They don't have people, let's see that. How many, raise your hand, close your eyes, so that we're honest. How many of you have somebody who owns leadership and development in your company? About 6, 7, that's it. How many of you have somebody full-time, that's their full-time job, to own leadership and development in your company? So fewer hands, 4 or 5. Here's what you do, and why it doesn't work. Option 1, this is the default, we leave it to the employees. Hey, you know what? You want to grow in our company? Go out and learn. Hey, there's an internet. There's lots of stuff. How's that work? Existing course libraries. I don't know if they have them here, Udemy, Coursera, there's, I think LinkedIn has Jill. There are course programs. Here's how that usually works out. You got somebody excited, you say, you know what, we want to support you. We'll buy the subscription to the course library, go learn. And they get there, and they get a screen about this size, and it's got like 500 courses, and that's only what's being offered today out of the 10,000 courses that they have. And these people don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to learn. They don't know how to apply it. And the worst part for you is they're going and learning from someone else that's probably telling them exactly what you don't want them to do. And then they come back, and it's like this infection that spreads through the entire area. Or you hire someone and you build a program. Now, I don't know what that costs in Jakarta. A professional in the US for that sort of program is $150,000 a year minimum US. And then that's just them to think about what's going on. That's not to actually put in the LMS systems, figure out the content, build whatever unique communication that you need for your company. It's expensive, which is why most companies don't start really doing it until they get to about 650 admin employees, where they actually have to do that on a regular basis, and they're looking at the longevity of the company. So we thought, well, okay, because we have lots of stuff. We have 100 speakers that Vern has brought through over decades that we've recorded and taken their information. We thought, how can we make that usable, right? Instead of just the catalog. We thought, wouldn't it be great to actually give you a full plug-and-play program that is way cheaper than what it would cost to build a department, Not that it's gonna be your permanent program when you get to 1,000 employees, but it will bridge you through to be able to start your people on learning and development so that you can grow at the rate that you're gonna put on your one-page strategic plan as you work through your strategy. Here's what we took. Valuable employees, this book that motivates the people in the company. We said, let's put that together with some live courses. Yes, they're on the internet, but actual live people that will train how to actually learn. Let's put together some learning guides that are specifically relevant to mastering the Rockefeller habits, scaling up, and valuable employees, so that your people and you don't have to look at this 100 catalog library and go, I'm not sure what courses to take. So we'll tell you what courses to take and what to do with them, and then give you tools to assess and direct the right people. How do you know which are the people that actually are engaged, that are worth investing your leadership and development money? Because you're not likely so profitable that you can just throw it at everybody and have some of them not work. Now, I'll give you a piece of that tomorrow morning. And then we did what we do best, which is we brought multimedia to them with leaders, both live and recorded in accent. Here's what we based it on. A 20-seat subscription. Because in your companies with admin, you probably have somewhere up to about 20 that are worthy to invest in. Now, some of you may have bigger, and we have bigger programs, but we give you 2 seats to the master business courses. So